Alrighty, we're up and running. I hope you all are doing great. Today's an exciting day because I am gonna go to my normal gym in the beginning now, but that is not to train. It's actually just to pick up my equipment. And the reason is because I'm gonna move. I will first now train 2 days at a local gym that I trained in back in the days. But I'm not actually gonna move my equipment there. I'm just gonna grab my dip belt for today. But then after, in 1 week time, I'm actually gonna move to the other side of the city. And I will stay there for 3 months, which means that I'm gonna find a gym on that side of the city because I don't wanna waste 1 hour every day going by car. It would be really long car talks, which could be nice, but I think you would get pretty bored. And I don't wanna waste that much time just traveling to the gym. You wanna make the gym visits simple enough so we do it and we show up a lot of times. And traveling a lot of distance each time, I don't think that's sustainable in the long run. So I'm gonna find a place there, which means that I would take all my equipment because I don't know the setup there for the calisthenics part of things. It's a just normal commercial gym. Of course, they have the weights and stuff like that, but bars, P-bars, I don't think so. So I would grab my static bar, maybe even the dip bars to be honest. And then dip belt, I will grab my parallettes. And then of course I need to check with them that it's okay to have them there. I might just, probably I'll go for the deal where I will tell them that they are allowed to use all my equipment to any classes or anyone in the gym are allowed to do it. If that's the case, then hopefully they will allow me to have them there because I don't mind other people using them. Of course, it might wear out after many years, but since everything is just metal either way, most of the time it doesn't really matter. So that's the plan. But today I'm gonna go back to my old school gym that I started off. I was there for like 3 years in the beginning when I trained gym, and then I also transferred. That was the gym where I met one of my close friends that got me introduced to calisthenics, and at that gym that's where I learned my solid like straddle planche. I started train weighted calisthenics as well to some degree. I started training for one-arm handstand and all of those skills. So that's where it all started. So it's nice sort of a loop coming back to where the seed for calisthenics grow inside of me, if that makes sense. So it's gonna be interesting. It's also way more people at this gym. And in my opinion, it's both ways. It's always like that when it comes to benefits and disadvantages of it. But the benefits of having our people is that most often we perform slightly better. At least that's the case for me. When I know that people are watching, when I know that people can get inspired, it's sort of when you see people looking at you when you're training, you want to give it your all because you don't want to look weak. That's always going to be the case, and that's the benefit. So I think my level is going to be pretty high. I will really push my limit and do my best if there's a lot of people around, which most often there is at this type of gym, especially compared to the one I've been training for now the last half year or almost year. So that's exciting. The bad thing, I guess, with having our people is filming. Not everyone likes to be on camera, which means that sometimes I might not be able to film everything in the angle I want. It might be a bit weird angle to not show a lot of people, film a lot of people. And the other thing also is that when it comes to machines, weights, everything, it might be occupied from time to time, especially if you hit the bad timings where there's just a lot of people and you might need to wait. And then the third factor is that there's a lot of chatting, which in the beginning, to be honest, I enjoy it a lot. It's been now some good amount of months where I've just been hustling, training on my own. It's been great, but I've almost become like antisocial because I just don't meet a lot of people in the gym, which is one hell of a nice vibe just to have this community to train with. Of course, 2 times per week I have my freestyle sessions. I meet up, chat a lot with people, and I meet people outside of the gym as well. But during the gym training, it's also a vibe just to have your crew. So that's gonna be nice, just coming back to the old team, meeting new people as well. I think this sport is growing each day, and what I've heard, the amount of people doing handstand now in the gym that I'm gonna train in now is insane. Like a lot of people have started, and the only reason was because I started to bring my Gornation P-bars to the gym. I started to do handstand. More people came up to us. They joined us for handstand training, and then that just expanded. It just spread. like everyone just wanted to learn handstand, and all of us is super like, we invite people to train. If we're training handstand, someone comes up, asks for some tips, or like, do you mind if I train with you guys for a little time or something like that? We always invite them in and, you know, give them our best tips to get started, because for us it's so fulfilling to see other people get inspired and start the sport as well. And all of this is just because we train in a gym where a lot of people can see what we're doing. And that's what I'm also looking forward to, just motivating and sort of inspiring and making the sport grow a bit more by making me more locally visible. Like, I'm focusing a lot of social media and I give a lot of value right there, and a lot of people get to see the sport, but it's to some degree also different compared to seeing it live. If one person sees, even if there's someone working or training in my gym, they see me, follow me on Instagram and YouTube, they see my content, they see what I do. That's one type of getting inspired. But then there's another side of things, is when you see someone live doing it, because then it's the step between actually then trying out the sport is so much shorter, because at that point you can just train, you're in the environment I'm training, you're seeing it live, it's always going to be different. And that's what I'm really looking forward to now, is just for people to see more of the sport. I'm spreading the sport more locally in the city where I live. And if that's the case as well, maybe more gyms are going to focus more towards calisthenics because the demand is getting bigger. That's what I hope for, at least, because there is some insane beauty in this sport. Just the fact that you don't need much, it's infinite potential when it comes to growth. Like, you can train for so long and there's always going to be something more to strive for, and that's fulfilling in my opinion. It might of course be some people thinking that then where's really the clear goal, because there's always something to get better at. But I think that's the beauty of it. Like, there's no clear goal, like this is the max you can reach. There's always another level, and it also just means that I can always keep getting better, which in the long run is what I'm chasing. So that's what I really enjoy. And then the other factor is just a sort of social part of things. Like, when I went to the gym, it was one type of vibe. We would meet up, we would do our sets and stuff like that. But calisthenics, it's when you gather a lot of people, everyone training calisthenics, is just a different hype. Everyone is cheering each other on in a different way. We're celebrating new skills when people unlock in a different way compared to, yeah, it's a new PR in weights, that's one thing. But when someone unlocks their first muscle up, their first handstand, maybe the first straddle planche, it's a different hype. And that energy, it's like, I get so addicted to it. I really do. I just keep showing up and just want it to grow so more people can experience it, because once they are there, they're gonna be stuck. Like, they are not gonna leave, because you get addicted to that vibe. And what this in the long run also means is that if people get addicted to it, the health is just skyrocketing, because the sport it's really beneficial. You just achieve maximum control of your body, you get a great physique from it, and your overall health standard, if you just keep consistency, is insanely improved. The gym, the concept is the same with gym. It's just the fact that it might be harder for someone to be as dedicated, always showing up, especially if you're training in the gym alone. But if you find this team training with calisthenics, oof, you're stuck there, means that you show up a lot of times and in the long run just achieve a insane level. Let's just keep it like that. It's really fascinating. And I'm always gonna motivate. Like, I can tell you guys this now, how powerful it is, but I will never really be able to express the feeling. Like, you gotta just experience it at some point. And one quick way to do it is just to show up at calisthenics events, for example. If you've been to a calisthenics event, you just know the hype. It's mad. Now it's a funnels, I enter the dark side, but I really want you to just experience it once, because then you're stuck. And when you're stuck to it, show up, results will come. That was the pep talk for today. Now I think it's time for me to just head up, get the stuff in the gym. I'm almost there. And then I will see you guys in the new gym, because that's gonna be exciting. Just completely different environment and I think a different vibe. See you guys there. I'm now in the gym, and trust me, it's been many years since I was here last time, and a lot has changed. Number one is they have expanded, so they took away, they had some group classes, room like especially just for group classes, which we couldn't attend, but now I think they took away all the walls and just built more machines, because I guess the demand for gym has just skyrocketed, to be honest. Then the other thing is that they have actually put a better setup for calisthenics, so better bars, and to some degree it's not necessarily for freestyle, definitely not, but muscle up I think is still possible. Before you couldn't do it, the roof was literally here and the bar was here, so maybe if you squeezed your head, but it was harsh. So that's a good upgrade. Also when it comes to band setup, just having bars and putting the band as using for additional help, which I do a lot in my training, is also pretty suitable, so that's great. And I saw one bar that's slightly wider as well, which means that you could potentially do Maltese in between it, which is what I've been doing in my other gym as well. So for tomorrow, I think actually the full Maltese session is gonna be a solid one as well, with the right circumstances to perform it fully. But today I'm gonna stick with the front lever session, and for that one I definitely know I can perform everything. I'm gonna show you a bit more also what they have fixed, and especially the calisthenics parts that I will be using, so you get a better overview of what the gym actually looks like. We're still gonna stick to the routines though. I don't have my normal static bar. This is actually the original one. This was the first bar that I ever started training front lever on. It's a friend of mine, he did the sort of measurements, sent it to a guy who does the welding, and then we got it here. It's been there for I think like 5-6 years, still holding strong. I do prefer the thickness on the grenation bar, but to some degree this is the original, so I guess this will do for now. But in about 1 week, I'm gonna get the grenation one back. Let's do 3 sets top, or 3 sets front lever touch. Aiming for 6-7 seconds touch, I think that should be doable. Feeling pretty strong today. Not too bad, not too bad. One thing to have in mind though is that this bar is thinner than the grenation one, which means that the sort of range I need to pull slightly further. It does a small difference, not using it as an excuse, but it is a small difference. I have that in mind. If you're training on a thick bar, for example, like the normal parallettes we do freestyle on, it's way different. Top or the front lever touch, way easier on the thicker bars. But it's good. If you can train it on thin ones, you can definitely perform it on any other bar after. Not too bad. I am actually pretty happy with that. I don't know the exact seconds, I'm gonna check it out on footage afterwards, but I think minimum 5 seconds, and that's actually touch, which is nice. And as I mentioned last session, my form has just improved a lot. Even though I can't hold it for like 10-20 seconds, my form during the few seconds I can hold is actually really clean, which to be honest, it's a pretty good success. Let's get a good last set. Last one was actually like 6-7 seconds, which is actually pretty good with the hold as well, not only the form. Slight drop, but fuck, that's some solid holds. I think the angle should be wide enough for you to see the whole setup, but this is the thing that I mentioned that was completely new. We had some monkey bars back in the days that worked fine for resistance band, but I think this is actually wide enough for Maltese training tomorrow, which is perfect. And the height as well for using resistance band in planche, front lever, all of these skills, it's gonna be definitely good enough. I don't know though if I want to do front lever here or might actually use the monkey bar. It's a bit more open here, so for seeing the form, I think this one might actually be better. I decided to go for the monkey bar, mainly because the height is roughly what I used to have in the other gym, which means that I can just keep the band the same. The height of the bar is pretty much the same, which means that the intensity of my workout is pretty much the same. Otherwise, if I would have a completely different setup, it would be hard to know how much help was I getting in the past and how much would I get now, which means that the training would be inconsistent. So same setup, that's why I'm training right here. Let's do 4 front lever pull-ups and then just a max hold. Woo. Not too bad. The pull-ups actually felt really clean. Hold, maybe I dropped down with a bump slightly, but pretty solid for being the first set. Let's keep it up with the form. Pretty good, to be honest. As long as the 4 pull-ups are with touch, I'm happy. And then the hold, of course, sometimes I drop down slightly with the retraction as well, but then at the end of the day, if I get 8-10 seconds, it's really good. Time under tension, super high. One thing I tried to focus extra right now was on the pull-ups to get the feet just slightly higher. I think the previous set, the upper body is moving pretty well in a good straight line, but legs are slightly delayed, so they're not moving in the same speed as our upper body, which just makes it look slightly weird, and the form isn't perfect. So that's something I tried to adjust, just get the feet slightly higher. Of course, it's harder because the leverage with your arms is going to be increased, but we're here for the good form, so why not change it? Next up, we got the raises on stomach. This is something I added about 1 week ago, and I literally love the exercise. It's great connection both for retraction, which is beneficial for the front lever, but then also for the Victorian, since it's roughly the same muscles, and especially if I keep focus on having locked arms, it's also simulating it really well. Especially in this degree, we're getting full pressure at 90-degree lockout when my arm is straight, which is the same procedure in Victorian. And that's perfect, that's what we want, because then we both get strength-wise, targeting our muscles with this exercise, but also muscle connection, since we're activating it in a similar way that our end result is then going to be. I got 8 kg, this time I'm also on a lower bench, but to be honest, it's not that much of a problem. I can't have locked arms, but since this is a relaxed position either way, it's not crucial for me to get into the lockout. It would be worse if I couldn't get fully up here, because this is a range of motion where we're actually activating muscles, whereas here it's just a resting position. So this is gonna be slightly harder than before, since I'm not getting the rest in lockout, but it's gonna be great. It's still activating and everything else is pretty much the same. So let's do 3 sets, aim for 10 reps, just as before. Pretty damn good. Almost felt slightly too easy. I might actually have to go in and watch my own last video to see what I did, because I don't remember if I did 10 kg. Because 8 kg, 10 reps, this felt pretty good. Then of course last time I did add a max hold at the end, which to some degree pushing it to closer to failure, but this was still a bit too easy. So if I did more, I will have to switch up the weight. I checked the footage and I did do 9 kg last time, so that makes sense why this was slightly too easy. But let's actually do 10 kg today, because I don't think they had 9 kg here, actually they jumped with 2. But let's do 10, because either way this felt a bit too easy actually, so at 10 is gonna be way better for me to actually push the limit to some degree. Alright, I now got to 10 kg, so this should be slightly more challenging. way better. Now it's actually to the degree where I have to push it to do 10 ones, especially with decent form. And that's where we want to be. Maybe not 100% to fully failure, but at least 80, 90. That's a good spot for me to be in. Let's get it, final set, and then moving on to some weighted pull-ups. What the fuck? Like the holds, they are so underrated. It's insane. Like the reps, you can get explosiveness in the beginning, get some momentum, but to just hold it, it's one of those exercises where you just don't really know how to get it stronger. You know, you're pushing it, you're holding the weight up, but you just don't really feel which muscle is actually performing the hardest pressure or doing it. Exactly what this feels like. So I'm holding it, but I don't really feel like I have connection to do more weights. It's weird, but it feels good. So to some degree I'm going to continue to do it. I think the weights are going to bump up as well as my body gets more comfortable. We have only done it for 1.5 weeks, so can't really make a judgment already. Let's move on to some weighted pull-ups. I actually think this setup is going to be pretty perfect. It's super sturdy. Like, one thing is having a good setup like this. The other thing is when you have weights on it, which this has due to the squat rack and everything, it's just super sturdy. So if you're doing weighted stuff, it's literally the perfect setup. So all I need is a bench. The height is great, and we also have completely new weights, and these ones are also pretty thin, which is nice for the comfort of the weighted ones. But let's do 9 reps, 40 kg, the pull-up grip. Almost 9. The last one was shin touching the bar, but not necessarily over. But it's decent. Let's do 2 more sets. Wouldn't count that last one. That was 8 ones, but lost the momentum in the beginning. If I stop at like 5, the odds of me doing 9 is pretty harsh. But usually the 2-second rest in between, you get 1 swing, usually gives like 2 more extra reps. So even if you're dead with the repetition momentum, take some light rest, usually bumps up the reps with at least 2. Sometimes 3 if you're lucky. 1 last set. Need some extra rest for the 9th. Not the prettiest ones, but to be honest, they're all right. We used to do 8 before, so doing 9 now. Not a crazy big step, but still an increase. So shouldn't be easy to perform. After getting a closer look at this setup, this was actually where we used to do the weighted dips and stuff like that before, but now I actually don't see a setup for dips. It is literally just pull-ups and powerlifting, squats and those stuff. So I'm gonna see if we have set of dip bars here for tomorrow. Otherwise I might do another exercise or bring my own set, we'll see. Because to be honest, weighted dips is like my favorite thing. That's why I always have it in the end of these sessions. But I'm gonna check with the people here at the gym if they actually have a dip setup, because it's a pretty big movement to be honest, and every gym should have a dip setup in my opinion. Even if you're not doing calisthenics, building some massive chest and shoulders, that's just beneficial for everyone. Either way, I'll see you guys tomorrow for the push session. Boom, we're back with a crazy transition. It is time for a Maltese session. And yesterday I did check out the setup, and to be honest, for Maltese it's gonna work pretty fine. We have the width, we have the setup with the band or with a bar that allows us to use the band as always. And I did ask the gym owners about the dip, and we do have a setup for it as well. Not ideal for pushing the higher weights, but it's gonna be enough for our 80-90 kg reps. Just focusing on good form and it should be fine. Which means that we can do our workout to 100%. I think the only difference though is this bar is slightly higher than the one we used to train in, which means that I will get a bit more help since the resistance band is getting stretched like, I don't know, 2 decimeters or something extra. But to be honest, like the past sessions have been pretty harsh with the Maltese, so I'm pretty thankful for some extra help. It's not crazy much, but just a little. So maybe we can bump up the holds for an extra 2 more seconds or something like that. But let's get started. Maltese holds, 3 sets. So this is gonna be the setup. I did bring my Grenadian parallettes, which is just it's a bonus guaranteeing the grip is pretty good. I also got just massive chunk of chalk to guarantee the grip. And I think the width is pretty much the same as we did before. This lean, I will continue to do it slightly on the edge just for the wrists. But besides of that, pretty much the same as always. So I'm still hoping for some solid sets. Actually pretty alright. Actually pretty good. I did feel I was sliding down, so maybe I need to grab it slightly higher up. But strength-wise, felt nice. So I think that 2 other sets is actually gonna be better when it comes to how long I actually hold it. Pretty damn good. Only the camera will tell the truth, but it felt nice. Maybe not 6 seconds, but at least a few ones that were really solid in level with the ground. Let's do one final one. I'm getting slightly more rest now as well, aiming for like 4 minutes, since these ones are just literally like 200% of my power. So I really want to rest slightly more, have full potential for each set. So let's do one more set. I'm gonna see if I can activate the core already from the beginning. So activate it, lean into the Maltese, and then press up into the right form. Sometimes when I enter it from the above, then I need to adjust it in the actual hold, which is gonna be harder. Of course, you wanna be able to do that as a final result as well, because you're not always gonna be able to lean, especially not in competition. If you wanna have it on a straight bar, you gotta have enough strength to adjust as well. But now, when I'm having the right setup, I might just actually lean and do it correct form from the start. Activate, lean. It's so fucking heavy. But I do think the hips were at a better position for this last set. Hold maybe not the longest one, but form and the width, crazy. Let's move on to some supinated full planche holds. Considering the Maltese, the strength I had in that one, and energy level, to be honest today, that one has been going a bit up and down in between sessions, which they are. But since it's pretty high today, I'm expecting the hold in supinated full planche just to be pretty damn good, to be honest. Because now we're getting slightly more help as well, since what I mentioned about the height of the bar, so the band is stretching out more than usual. And all things combined, maybe we can aim for like 8+ seconds. I'm also now gonna point my toes, because I did notice last session that it helped me with the core connection and just getting the PPT. the pelvis tilt in a better form and feel that connection throughout the whole body from literally my shoulders to my toes, which is good. So I would try it out today as well, see if we can hold it for 8+ seconds on each set. Pretty solid. I did feel like I corrected the form slightly towards the end. Also had the bum a bit high in the beginning. Just like with the Maltese, I think I'm gonna lean into it this time. Not enter from the top, but actually get the connection with the core first. Lean, get the bum and legs up, and had right form from the beginning. Let's try it for the second set. This one either way was pretty good, especially the holding time. Let's do another one. PPT from the beginning, then lean into it. Now, slightly shorter hold, but I definitely think the form was better. But only you guys can tell. Let's check the footage and adjust the small things for the final set. I did check the video and I think it actually was around 8 seconds to be honest, and the form looked alright. But let's do one side angle for the last one and just lean, correct, point toes, try to do everything correct. Let's see if we can still get the 8-second hold. I think the form was alright, 8 seconds, not so sure. But that's the last one. Let's move on to some straight arm raises. Let's get it. Same weight as last time, 15 kilograms, aiming for the 10 reps. It was pretty harsh last time, especially now with the pronated grip, since the connection is just not something I've trained a lot. So of course my body isn't comfortable, but I do think it's gonna be really beneficial. Since this is the grip I'm training for Maltese, why not just transfer it? This one is still building great strength, but if we can simulate our end goal way more with exercises, that's what we want to do. So then I think it's worth switching up. I guess we will see in a few weeks if it pays off or not. The results will tell. It's possible with 10, but I do lose the protraction for last reps. I think it's fine though, I still get the connection and everything with the straight arm. It's just the protraction. I'm not necessarily gonna train it that much for the last reps, but we're still doing it for the first repetitions of the set, which is still good. Let's do 2 more sets. Impossible to get the protraction at the end. I have to drop down to sort of sheet it a bit for last set. But last time we did actually do 9, so doing 10 once, even though the last one isn't fully clean, still improvements, which is good. Yep. Now I really start to feel the fatigue. Good, let's move on to some weighted dips. This is gonna be exciting because, or it's gonna be different because the setup is not that good. Trust me. The bars are like this thin, not super sturdy, and not built for weighted dips. But we'll see what we can do. I put up the exposure slightly higher so you get the more contrast and see the bars. But this is the setup. I think it's alright as long as you don't do quick repetitions. Like, of course there is this gap, but as long as you have pressure on it, which you're gonna have with weights, maybe either slightly pull it or slightly push it. I think push is gonna be the way for me. So if I have it here, it's actually pretty alright. So not as bad as I remember, but it's been a few years since I've been here, so let's go. I think we're starting off with 80 kg, and if it's fine, we move up to 90 like last session. There's one thing that was pretty alright, and that's the weights. They are pretty slim, which means that 80 kg is not as big as it was for my last gym, where I just literally couldn't have straight legs. I think at this point, not too bad. I still bend them due to the setup here, but pretty alright. So, one big plus. Pretty alright. And actually, since the weights aren't too thick, I think we can bump it up to 90. Alright, we got it, 90 kg. I even took the time to put the 10 kg in between, otherwise I know you guys would comment that it would be wrong with the weight. And sort of, to some degree, I guess it could be that it's more weight on one side, but not too much to be honest. But now we have it here, perfect setup. Let's aim for 8 reps. 90 kg, it is fucking a lot. So I better keep the form so we ain't doing or getting some injuries. Holy shit, that felt good. I probably could have pushed it with 10 if I get some light rest in between. Just as I said with pull-ups yesterday, if you just rest like 2 seconds in between the reps, you usually get like 2 more. But that was nice. I'm not gonna push it too hard since to some degree just doing this for fun, and if I were to get injured doing it, that would be stupid. Let's do one more set, 8 reps, 90 kg. Last set. Pretty damn solid. I definitely know for next session that I can start with 90, because this was almost piece of cake. Not that easy, but it felt really good. And I could keep the protraction, which means that we're not in a danger of getting injured. Not gonna lie, that was a pretty solid workout. Got everything done. We could perform all the exercises as well. I'm pretty good executor. My level of energy was right here, so Maltese was solid, full planche holds really good. The pronated and the dips also like pretty damn amazing, to be honest. 90 kg for reps is a big improvement compared to the beginning of the year when we started with roughly like 60, 70 around that area. So good things ahead. I'm not gonna do any flexing right now. I might if I find a good location later on, but I just feel like it's slightly disrespectful, to be honest, in gyms with just a lot of people. So I'm not gonna do it right now, but if I find a solution to it, I might add it in the future. With that being said, hit like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Choo-choo!